January 13, 1982. Washington, D.C. was buried under snow. Traffic was paralyzed. The city was frozen. But no one knew that in just a few minutes, one of America's most heartbreaking aviation disasters was about to unfold. At exactly 3:59 p.m., a Boeing 737 lifted off into the blizzard. 30 seconds later, it would fall from the sky. This is the story of Air Florida Flight 90 and the heroes who emerged from the freezing waters of the Potomac River. Welcome to Depthline TV. Air Florida Flight 90 was a Boeing 737, minus 222 scheduled to fly from Washington National Airport to Fort Lauderdale, Florida, with a stop in Tampa. On board were 74 passengers, 5 crew members, total 79 people. Washington, D.C. was experiencing one of the worst snowstorms in years. Temperatures had dropped to minus 4 degrees Celsius, 24 degrees Fahrenheit. Runways were covered in snow and ice. Flights were delayed. Visibility was poor. But Flight 90 was cleared for departure late in the afternoon. That decision would change everything. Critical mistakes before takeoff. The aircraft was de-iced at the gate. But here's what went wrong. Heavy snowfall. While the plane waited in line for takeoff, heavy snow continued to fall. Ice began forming again on the wings. The longer they waited, the worse it became. The captain was under pressure due to delays. He chose not to return for a second de-icing. That decision proved fatal. Engine anti-ice system. Another critical mistake. The engine anti-ice system was not activated. Because of this, the engine pressure ratio sensors EPR gave false high ratings. The cockpit instruments indicated the engines were producing full thrust, but in reality, the engines were underpowered. The pilots believed they had enough speed. They didn't. The takeoff took 30 seconds to disaster. At 3:59 p.m., Flight 90 began its takeoff roll. The aircraft struggled to accelerate. Inside the cockpit, the first officer expressed concern about unusual readings, but the captain continued. The Boeing 737 barely lifted off the runway. Snow and ice had contaminated the wings. Lift was severely reduced. The aircraft began losing airspeed almost immediately. The nose pitched upward. Then came the stall warning. Stick shaker activated. But it was too late. The aircraft was only a few hundred feet in the air. There was no room to recover. The impact. Just 30 seconds after takeoff, the Boeing 737 slammed into the 14th Street Bridge. It struck 7 vehicles. 4 people in cars were killed instantly. The plane then plunged into the icy Potomac River. The water temperature was near freezing. Most passengers were either killed on impact or trapped inside the sinking aircraft. Within minutes, the aircraft disappeared beneath the ice-covered river. Survivors in the freezing water. Only 6 people initially survived the crash impact. They clung to the floating tail section in the freezing river. Helicopters arrived quickly. Rescue teams faced extreme conditions. The water was deadly cold. Hypothermia could kill in minutes. One by one, a rescue line was lowered, and that's when true heroism emerged. The hero, Arland D. Williams Jr. Among the survivors was Arland D. Williams Jr. Each time the helicopter dropped the rescue line, he passed it to someone else, again and again. He could have saved himself, but instead, he chose others. 5 people were pulled to safety. When the helicopter returned for him, he was gone. Exhausted, frozen, he slipped beneath the surface. Arland Williams became a symbol of courage and selflessness. Today, a bridge in Washington, D.C. is named in his honor. The civilian hero, Lenny Skutnik. As rescue crews struggled, a bystander named Lenny Skutnik made a split-second decision. He removed his coat and boots and jumped into the freezing river. He swam toward a struggling survivor and pulled her to safety. His bravery shocked the nation. He later received national recognition, including from the president. Casualties. Out of 79 people on board, 74 died. 4 motorists on the bridge were also killed. Total deaths, 78. Only 5 passengers ultimately survived. It remains one of the deadliest aviation disasters in Washington, D.C. history. Investigation and findings. The National Transportation Safety Board (NTSB) investigation concluded. Primary causes: failure to properly de-ice before takeoff, failure to activate engine anti-ice system, pilot misinterpretation of engine performance, inadequate response to stall warning. Contributing factors: severe weather conditions, pressure to maintain schedule, poor cockpit communication. This tragedy exposed weaknesses in winter flight operations and crew resource management. Impact on aviation safety. After the crash, winter de-icing procedures were completely overhauled. Stricter rules were implemented regarding takeoff in snow conditions. Pilot training on icing awareness became mandatory. Crew resource management (CRM) training was expanded globally. This disaster changed aviation safety forever. Modern winter aviation procedures today exist partly because of Flight 90. On that freezing January afternoon, a routine flight turned into a national tragedy. But amid the wreckage and ice, human courage rose above fear. Air Florida Flight 90 is not only a story of error and loss, it is also a story of sacrifice, of ordinary people doing extraordinary things, and of lessons written in ice that continue to protect millions of lives today. This was Deafblind TV. If you want more real aviation stories, true investigations, and untold heroism, subscribe, like, share, and turn on the bell icon.